Welcome back to the fifth part of our procedural bridge building series in Blender 5.2 geometry nodes. In our previous sessions, we built the main structure of our rope bridge step by step. We created the parametric rope curves, added rope thickness, generated dynamic support pillars, built a procedural wooden plank walkway, and added vertical hanging rope and upper knot details. Now in this session, we are going to add another important handicrafted detail to the bridge, the lower zigzag rope pattern. If you look at the old jungle rope bridges or handmade suspension bridge, the ropes are not simply connected in straight lines. Around the wooden planks, you often see smaller ropes tied in zigzag pattern, wrapping and connecting the lower bridge structure together. These details make the bridge feel more believable, more natural, and less like a clean computer-generated model. In this part, we will create the lower zigzag rope effect procedurally. We will start by reusing the existing rope curve from our bridge system. Instead of creating a complete new path manually, we will take the lower rope structure, bypass the height system, and generate the zigzag pattern only along the bottom section of the bridge. Then we will use Resample curve to create enough points for the zigzag shape. After that, we will use set position along with noise texture to create a controlled irregular rope path. This will allow us to form a natural looking zigzag rope instead of a perfect straight line. We will also use vector math to center the noise movement properly, scale the distortion, and control how strongly the zigzag pattern appears. By switching the noise setup and adjusting values such as scale, detail, roughness, distortion, and W value, we will create a more organic rope path that looks like it is tied around the bridge planks. The important point is that the zigzag rope is still procedural. It follows the bridge width, bridge height, stays aligned with the lower rope, and remains part of the same parametric bridge system. After creating the lower zigzag rope detail, we will also organize the entire geometry node setup properly. As our bridge has grown through multiple parts, the node 3 now contains several systems: ropes, knots, wooden planks, pillars, lower zigzag ropes, and the main ropeway. In this session, we will frame and label these sections clearly so the node tree becomes easier to understand, edit, teach, and expand. By the end of this video, our procedural rope bridge will have a much richer handmade look with lower zigzag rope details, adding more realism and character to the structure. This part is important because it shows how procedural modeling is not only about generating large form, it is also about adding small repeating details that makes a model feel complete. So let us continue and create the lower zigzag rope pattern for our procedural bridge. Now in this session, I am again going to start by launching Blender. I have Blender 5.2 here. I will double click to open it. Now once I have launched it, I am going to continue with my bridge4.blend file that I saved in the previous session. If you are continuing from the previous session, you can directly open this and start working on it. But if you doesn't have this file and if you come to this video directly, in the YouTube video page and in the e-learning page, I have provided you with a link to my Patreon page. You can come to my Patreon page, scroll down, and you have this blender4.blend file here. Click on it to download it, open it, and start working on it. So I will come back to Blender and I open this file. And in our previous session, we added these vertical ropes and also this knot. Now in this session, I am going to explain you a little complicated process wherein if you bring this rope on the side view, I will press numpad 1 to come into the side view. With shift middle mouse, I will just pan it up. Press Ctrl space to make it full screen. Here, you have a rope running at the bottom. And generally, in a jungle ropeway, you will have this rope tied around this plank. I need some zigzag ropes running all around this plank to create an illusion that these vertical ropes are tied here. So I am going to create this zigzag rope. And how am I going to start it? Just think logically. To create this zigzag rope, I am going to use the original rope that is running down and I have to add some zigzagness for that. So I will press Control Space. Where is my original rope? If I just zoom out, if you come here into the rope curve, you are seeing this rope curve here. You can take this output. So now I will zoom out and I need some space or somewhere to create this. So I will select all these nodes, move up, and then I will take rope curve output from here. Now before I start working, I will come into the file, save as, and I am going to give this file the name as bridge05.blend and click on the save button. And I have this bridge 3 geometry node. I will create a copy of it and I am going to call this as bridge. So now if I click here, I have both bridge 3 and bridge 5 here. So I am working on the bridge 5 node. Before I start my work, understand the logic what we are going to do. I need a zigzag rope at the bottom. With shift middle mouse, I will drag it up. And to create this zigzag rope, it should be exactly at the same position as the bottom 2 ropes. And this rope is coming from my rope curve. And I want this zigzagness both on the left hand side and right hand side. So I need width also. However, I doesn't want this zigzagness on the top. So I have to bypass the height. From the height, it is going to curve to mesh and curve circle. I will select this curve to mesh curve circle and move it to the side to make some space here. I am going to select this width, press Shift D and duplicate it, and I will bring it down. So here is where I am going to create my zigzag pattern. I will take my rope curve output and connect it to this width. I am going to bypass height because I doesn't want this zigzagness here. So I will bypass height, press Shift A, and in search I will search for join geometry. And I will connect this join geometry after height. And after height, I am going to take whatever width I am getting and connect it to the geometry. Now as soon as I connect it, I got 2 more copies of the rope. However, these ropes are present exactly at the center. I doesn't want it at the center. I want this pattern to be created at the 2 ends. I will connect bridge width to my bridge width value coming from the group. I have the output coming here. I will take this output, drag it and connect it to bridge width. Now we are not seeing those ropes, but they are placed exactly over my old rope. For this new rope, I have to create a different number of points. In our original rope, if you remember, we had divided this rope into 40 counts. I should have a control to change this number. So I will press Shift A and in search, I will search for resample curve and I will connect this resample curve before this width. And in this resample curve, if I set the count to 2, you will get a straight line like that. And if I set the value to 3, you get a triangle like that. Because I want a zigzag pattern, I am going to set the count to something like 50. To rearrange it, I will press Shift, right mouse, create a node here. I will press G and move it to the side. I have resample curve here. I will slightly move it to the side. And I am going to change the position of this curve. I have to control its position or transform. In previous cases, we controlled it using transform, but in this case, I use a different node called as set position. So I will press Shift A, search, and I will call this set position node, and I will connect this set position node between resample curve and width. Now nothing is happening. But in the offset, if I move along the Y, see it is moving along the Y, or it is moving along the Z, or it is moving along the X. So I will select all the 3 and set it back to 0. This change in position, I want this to happen zigzagly. So I need a random pattern to be created. And to create random pattern, we basically use 2 tools. One is random value and another noise texture. So let us try with noise texture. I will press Shift A and in search, I am going to add noise texture. I will put the noise texture down. I select this node, press G and move it down. In the bridge width, Shift right click, add a reroute and I will pull it out so that it is not obstructing my area here. So I will bring this noise texture. It is in 3D FBM and with the default values, I will take the color output and connect it to the offset. You have a zigzag rope running on the top. This rope has shifted from bottom to the top. It is creating this zigzagness between the value of 0 and 1. This has moved up. But I want this zigzagness at the bottom means this zigzagness should not change from 0 to 1. It should change from minus 0.5 to 0.5. So now to make this vary between minus 0. and 0.5, whatever value is generated for this, I have to separate it by minus 0.5 along all the three axes. So for that, I will come into this noise texture output. When I connect this to the offset, in between this noise texture and offset, I will press Shift A, and in search, I will search for vector math node, and I will add it between noise texture and offset like this. In the operation, I will change this to subtract, and in all the three axes, I will change it to 0.5. And now you can see the rope is getting zigzagged on the same position. I am not seeing this very clearly. I will move the noise texture, I will move the subtract. I will press Shift D and duplicate this math node, and I will add it. And this time, instead of subtract, I am going to come here and choose scale, and I will set the scale value to something like 1.5 so that this distortion is slightly scaled up. And I will come into noise texture here now, and instead of 3D, I am going to select 4D. And I get a new additional parameter called W, wherein I can change the pattern of the zigzagness. I will set this W value to something like 5. I will set the scale value to 1. The zigzagness is not too much. Set the details to 0. And roughness, I will make it 0. Distortion level, if you move it, see, you can see how the distortion is happening. I can move it like this and set a value of around 2. And if I check it, and if you want, you can also scale it up a little. So now, to get more control on this zigzagness, I will come into before resample curve or above this noise texture, and I will press Shift A, and in search, I will search for vector math again. For the first vector, I will press Shift A, search, and I will give the input as position, and I will connect this position to the first vector. I will take the output from this add, and I am going to connect it to this noise vector. I will move this add down and also position down here. If I select all these three values, set a value of 3, we have some kind of this rope running all around. I can come into the resample curve count, and from 50 I will change this value to 100 so that we have more of these knots. If I wish to move it a little along the z-axis, I will come subtract and reduce z-axis subtraction to around 0.3. So I have all this rope running above. So we have successfully added this rope. I will come into geometry node, press Ctrl space to maximize it. Now all this top panel here represents ropes and knots. So to correctly document it, I select all these nodes on the top, press F. You get a frame, and I am going to call this as in capital ropes and knots. Press enter, and you have the name here, and if you want the name to be more bold, you can come into the node. You have the frame label, and the label size, I can set this to 60 so that it appears bigger. I will come into the next part here, and this part represents the wooden plank. I will select all this here. Again press F, and I am going to call this as wooden planks. I will set the label size to 60. So this represents wooden plank. Then I will first select all these bottom nodes, press G and move it down a little. And now here I am going to select this multiply pillar endpoint and these instances. These 4 represents the 4 pillars. So I select these 4, press F. And I am going to call this as pillars, and also I will set this label size to 60. I will select the one that I created just now, this entire group now. Press F, and I am going to call this as lower rope zigzag, and press enter. And even here in the node, I will set the label size to 60. And finally, center rope way. So I will select all the nodes in the center, press G and move it down a little, then press F and I am going to call this as rope way and press enter, and I will set this size also to 60. But I will slightly move it down. I have correctly labeled all my components. I will press Ctrl space. I have already saved this as blender5.blend. We'll go to file and save it. We have successfully created our parametric design of our ropeway, and in the next session we will start adding materials to this ropeway.